And we're also going to hear later in the program from someone who knows the situation on the ground in Iraq for those 3,000 Iranian dissidents who are imprisoned in what is ironically called Camp Liberty. And I say this has to be a concern of ours because the United States government, when we went into Iraq, got the residents of then Camp Ashraf to lay down their weapons and to turn over their weapons to the U.S. government in return for promise of protection. Well, that promise, as soon as the United States left, has been violated over and over again. And so I think it is important for us as Americans to recognize that we have a responsibility here as well. And we have a responsibility to do what we can, and we'll talk more about that later, to try to give assistance to those 3,000 persons who are still entrapped in Iraq, being persecuted by the Maliki government that really is acting simply as a puppet of the Iranian regime. It is a travesty and I think a stain on the reputation of the United States.
What you see to your right is just one example of the slaughter that has gone on inside Iraq. That just happened on September 1st, 2013. 52 Camp Ashraf residents were massacred without any warning. Military officials came in and killed 52 people, injured hundreds and hundreds of people. Those are the faces of the human beings who were destroyed that day. That's not the only attack that has taken place in Iraq. If I have it correct, under the Maliki regime, there have been at least 6 attacks, 3 on Ashraf, 3 on Liberty. And you say to yourself, how can this happen in this day and age? How can this possibly happen? Remember, every single one of these people, every single person that you see there on that wall who was slaughtered, who was massacred, had a letter of protection from our government. They were all given a promise of protection by the United States of America. And every single one of them was slaughtered despite that. If we fail to be outraged by it, if the Obama administration fails to be outraged by it, if we as citizens fail to be outraged by it, we have lost our honor. We no longer are a country of honor. We're no longer a country that can be respected.
We have an opportunity, and it does matter to us here in Arizona. And we must be a part of standing with people throughout this country, of every color, of every race, of every religion, of every background, to make sure that we're loyal to the commitments that we have made and that we do not let this happen in Iran or anywhere else. Arizona cannot live with a nuclear Iran.
And it's been mentioned here that our country gave its word to protect the members of the MEK that were in Iraq. It was the American military that made that commitment for our country. And I will tell you, it galls me every day that I think about it, and I realize that we can't deliver on what we promised. And the American military likes to keep its word. And so I watched with dismay in 2009, in 2011, and in 2013 as the men and women that we vowed to protect were savagely attacked. And savagely attacked after the United Nations, after the Iraqi government, and after the U.S. government had agreed that the MEK must be protected and resettled. We must ensure the protection of the MEK as long as they are in Iraq and until they're resettled. The MEK has consistently upheld their end of the bargain, and we owe them their safety and their future.
current Iranian regime is not only, it's certainly a threat to the well-being of Iran, it's certainly a threat to the well-being of the entire Middle East, and it came home to me, certainly, and I think to all of you, the threat that it's not only to Iran and the Middle East, but to America, to our country, and really to the world. So I thank you individuals for bringing that message to us, for bringing that wake-up call to us today.
That is the kind of leadership we need to work for, so that it will not just be America, but every country around the world that desires freedom and desires liberty. We will be able to unite together to make that happen, and I encourage all of you to be involved in America, in the work with our Iranian brothers and sisters.
We talk about humanitarian opportunities. When the voice finally finds freedom, the voice finds courage. And when that voice finds courage, you start to see a collective body of people that drive for something they care deeply about, and that is opportunity. It's the right to make decisions. It's a right to live without fear. We talk about executions that are happening. You look at these people, and behind each one of these people, you find courage, but you find families, you find stories.
It's about time we all stand up for human rights. I am very sorry about your loss that you suffered at Camp Liberty. I am very, very sorry about your loss at Camp Ashford. You should not have to go through that, but we are going through that. So we have to stand up together. We have to fight for human rights together. I'm very sorry for the lack of leadership coming from Washington, D.C. and the Obama administration. You deserve better. We deserve better. Together we can make a difference. Together we must make a difference. Thank you very much. Together we will win.
There's something more that we can do, and I think we do not want to forget, not just the people who've lost their lives, and it's not just the people whose pictures, and as General Casey can attest, these are people whose lives our American government pledged to protect. Well, 3,000 of them are still in Camp Liberty, and they are living in absolutely abysmal conditions. They don't have medical attention, and they do not have protection from the rocket attacks and from the assaults that have been launched against Camp Liberty. We need to do something about that. Thank you very much for coming today.